real estate market has been absolutely booming in Dubai over the past few years, but despite of this, the relative cost of buying is still reasonably low compared to the relative cost of renting. But before you just jump into the real estate market, you get a mortgage and you buy a home here, it is very good to understand what the true cost of buying a home here actually is, whether it's for living or for investing. Because if you just look at the sticker price of homes here, which you can find on Property Finder, Bayut, and on the websites of the developers themselves, you might be tricked into thinking that that is the only cost that you have to pay. So as someone who has lived in Dubai for 2 years now, and as someone who has done the research, and I have concluded that I most likely, barring anything crazy happening, will be buying real estate here at some point in the very near future. I have been doing a lot of research into what it actually means to buy a home here. What are the actual costs that I need to be aware of? So in this video, I just wanted to give a breakdown of all the costs of buying real estate here so you understand exactly how much all of this is going to cost. And we'll cover all the 3 different scenarios of buying real estate here in Dubai, which are: number 1, buying off plan from developers; number 2, buying with a mortgage from an individual; or number 3, buying in cash from an individual. And we'll break down these costs into 3 categories. First of which is the price of the property as well. We'll go over 3 different tiers of properties in Dubai and sort of what kinds of prices you might expect. Number 2, the fees, so the fixed costs of buying that you have to pay on top of the property price. And number 3, the opportunity cost, i.e. the potential extra returns that you're missing out on by having real estate versus something like a stock market index. So first, let's talk about the cost of property here in Dubai. So we'll talk about 3 broad categories. We have affordable properties, we have high-end properties, and you have luxury properties. The price of the property you're buying largely depends on obviously what kind of area you're buying, and of course also what kind of property you buy, what kind of building, what kind of developer you buy from, everything like this. But roughly speaking, if we talk about affordable properties, some example areas are, for example, Jumeirah Village Circle, Dubai South, which is sort of this new almost a full city that they're building just to the south of main Dubai. You have Dubai Sports City, you have Al Furjan, and you have Arjan, and many others. And just looking at an example over here on Property Finder on Jumeirah Village Circle, we can see that the average prices to buy for a studio start at around 615,000 dirhams. For 1 bedroom, they go up to 913,000. For 2 bedrooms, they jump to 1.4 million. Then 2 million for 3 bedrooms and 3.4 million for 4 bedrooms. And you can do the conversions to your own currency yourself. So if you're on a budget and you're wondering what is the cheapest possible property you can get into an area that's not luxurious or anything like that, but it's still a pretty decent community for you to live in, these are roughly the kinds of prices that you might expect. And in a second, we'll talk about how you can get a mortgage, what kind of mortgages you can get, what kind of other fees you have, and things like this. But now moving on to higher end properties. So these are usually the more popular areas in Dubai, for example, for tourists to come to. So we're talking about downtown Dubai, where the Burj Khalifa is. We're talking about Business Bay, which is right next to it, Dubai Marina, Dubai Creek Harbor, Dubai Hills, and areas like this, where most, let's say, entrepreneurs who are making a good amount of money, but not like multi-mega millionaires or anything like that, will probably be looking at. So right here, we can look at an example of downtown Dubai, for example, the main sort of center of Dubai, where we can see that to buy a studio, the price is 1.28 million. To buy a 1 bedroom, it is 2 million. 2 bedrooms, it is 3.4 million. 3 bedrooms, 5.9 million. And then going up all the way to 120 million for 6 bedrooms. And prices, especially in downtown Marina, this sort of main premium areas, have been going up a lot, because in these areas you simply don't have much space anymore to build. So most people who want to live in these areas, the demand is sort of starting to outpace the supply. So if you want to get a bargain, you probably want to be outside of these areas. But if you want to be where the action is, then you want to be in these areas, and you are going to pay for it. But then even on top of this, we have luxury properties. So very luxurious areas that are even more expensive. You're talking about places like Palm Jumeirah, Emirates Hills, DIFC, and Blue Waters Island. For example, right here we're looking at Emirates Hills, which is like one of the more luxurious villa communities in Dubai, where you mainly have villas starting from 3 bedrooms at 9.6 million dirhams, 5 bedrooms at 40 million, and then going up to like 84.5 million to 7+ bedrooms. and you have even higher prices for all of the villas in Palm Jumeirah, for example. So you really have no ceiling when it comes to how much you can spend if you are a multi-millionaire watching this video. So these prices are high, but if you compare again to most of the developed cities around the world, the prices in Dubai are still quite good because the city is still expanding so much. There's a lot of demand and the demand keeps on increasing, but there's also a lot of supply because in Dubai it's generally quite easy for the developers to quickly build new buildings, new areas. They're coming up all the time with new ones. So the supply has still been keeping up with demand, which has kept the prices from rising to absolutely astronomical levels. But the next cost category that we need to talk about are fees. So there's three cases here. First is buying off plan. So what this means is that you buy the property directly from the property developer, usually before the property is even finished, sometimes up to like 5 years before the project is finished, which of course offers the most potential for upside if you buy at a good price and you're willing to wait those 5 years, but also there is more risk. What if there are delays? There's some stories of especially bad developers where there have been a lot of delays. So definitely do a lot of research, and I have a separate video specifically on the pros and cons of ready property and off-plan property and things like that you can check out on the channel. But when you're buying off-plan, one of the pros is that the fees that you have to pay are generally lower. So whenever you buy any property in Dubai, you're going to have to pay a 4% Dubai land government fee. That is basically a fixed fee that you pay to the government on the transfer of any property. So that is going to be 4% of the property value. So if we look at an example of a $500,000 property, for example, if the property price is $500,000, this land department fee is going to be 4% of that, which is $20,000. And then on top of that, you might have certain administrative fees from the developer that might go up to like $1,500. So the total upfront cost that you're going to need to have available is going to be $21,500 for all of these fees, plus whatever is the first installment of your payment plan. So usually they have different payment plans where, for example, you might pay 20% upon signing the contract, or you might even pay up to like 50% upon signing the contract. It really depends on the case. You can see all the different projects and the payment plans, obviously, before you buy, and you can find them out from the developers. By the way, if you're looking to buy property in Dubai, whether it's off plan or ready, you definitely should work with a professional who has the contacts, who knows when new projects are coming up, who knows the standard practice when it comes to all these contracts and things like this, so you don't get screwed in the process, and so that you can find the best property and the best area for your preferences. Now, we have a business called Genzo Realty where we help people with this precise process. You can get a free discovery call with my business partner down below in the first link in the description if you are serious about buying property in Dubai. And you almost have no reason not to do this, because the way it works is that if you end up buying a property through us, the developer pays a commission to us, so there is no extra cost to you. And if you buy a ready property, you simply pay the standard 2% agent commission that you would have to pay anyway, no matter whose services you use. But with us, you simply get a VIP service where we walk you through the entire process. So if you're interested in buying property here, do book that free discovery call down below in the description. So when it comes to buying off plan, as a rough conclusion, you want to have 4% on top of the property value available to you on the date when you sign. And those are going to be the fees. Now, what about if you buy a ready property? Well, if you buy ready property in cash, so you pay the entire amount up front, then you're also going to have the 4% government fee, which you have in any case, whichever property you buy. But on top of that, you're going to have a 2% real estate agent fee. And unlike the commissions that the developers might pay to agents, this real estate agent fee is paid by you, and it is paid on top of the property price. So that is good to be aware of. And on top of that, you might have some other fees of around $5,000, some like small administrative fees and all these kind of things. So roughly, if you have, again, a $500,000 property, you're going to have the government fee of $20,000, the 2% real estate agent fee of $10,000, and let's just call it $5,000 of other miscellaneous fees, bringing your total upfront cost to $535,000, or in other words, $35,000 on top of the property price, or roughly, again, as a rough guide, 6% on top of the property value if you're buying in cash. Now, the third case is if you're buying ready property with a mortgage. So even as a foreigner, you can get mortgages from the banks. You do need to be a resident though, and usually you need to have at least 6 months of bank statements available. Now this depends on the bank, but one of the mortgage offers that I got, for example, is that I need 6 months of bank statements with a minimum balance of 25,000 dirhams on the account at any given moment. And this requires me to put 40% down as a down payment. This is usually the case for entrepreneurs. So if you're self-employed, you usually have to put 40% down. If you're employed, so you have a salary from a big company, you can get away with 20% down. And the mortgage timelines usually go up to like 25 years, I believe. So in this case, you have the same 4% government fee, you have the same 2% real estate agent fee, but you also have some fees to the bank for them to essentially give you this loan. And the standard here is 1% of the loan value, so not of the property value, of the loan value. And then on top of that, you have a 0.25% mortgage registration fee, again, of the mortgage value. So if we're talking about the scenario of putting 40% down on a $500,000 property, you're going to have $20,000 in the government fee and $10,000 in the real estate agent fee. And given that you're putting $200,000, so 40% down on the 500K property, that means a loan value of $300,000, and you're going to have the extra mortgage fees of 1.25% of that value, which come out to $3,750. And again, you might have the, let's call it $5,000 of extra miscellaneous fees, which brings your total upfront cost to $238,500, which includes your down payment plus all of these fees. Now, obviously, the upside is that you need less money upfront, but the downside is that you have higher fees. So instead of roughly 6% of the property value in fee, you have roughly, let's call it 7% in fees compared to the property value when you're buying the property. And of course, you have the extra fees in terms of the interest cost throughout the lifetime of your loan. But then that is still not actually everything, because we also need to consider opportunity costs. Because let's say you put that 40% down, the $200,000 down, you could have put that $200,000 into the stock market. You could have put it into crypto or whatever. And this is where it gets more subjective. Now, no one knows what happens to all the different markets. So no one really knows what the opportunity cost ends up being. It could very well be, especially in this current Dubai market, is that you don't really have an opportunity cost, because it is possible the returns that you have on the property are higher than the stock market. Obviously, that could also not be the case. There could be a crash in the market. So I'm not saying anything. I'm not making any promises or anything like that about returns. You need to think about what are your assumptions. What I would probably recommend is just having a diversified portfolio, not putting up all of your net worth into one property in Dubai, but rather having also crypto, having also stock, so you don't have outsized exposure into any particular market. But that is also something that you need to keep in mind. Now, I did actually the full math, given sort of my assumptions, sort of historical averages for the S&P 500, for the Dubai real estate market, rental yield, things like that. And I cover all of that, including the full math of buying versus renting in Dubai in this video right here, so that you can see sort of how to think about the full cost of buying versus the scenario of renting and what actually comes out cheaper in the end. So if you're serious about buying in Dubai, then I highly recommend you watch this video right here so you understand the full financial picture.